Hi, everybody, and welcome to week 6 of Social and Economic Justice 2. This week, we are going to be talking about community practice and more specifically, advocacy and technology. We're going to be looking at the skills necessary for effective community work associated with the range of advocacy techniques and the use of technology. And I'm sure most of you are engaged with social media of some type. And in our current political climate, I know I'm constantly, pretty much on a daily basis, um, seeing and bombarded in some cases with different advocacy efforts that are occurring through social media. So I think this week in particular um, can be particularly relevant for everyone, regardless of what your own professional experience has been with community-based practice. I think in our personal lives, we are the recipients of a lot of these advocacy efforts as well. So let's review our objectives and readings for the week. Our objectives for this week are that you will be able to understand and describe the theory of collective efficacy. Secondly, that you will be able to describe and discuss techniques of community advocacy. And third, that you will be able to apply technological skills for community practice, including social media. And again, this is obviously becoming increasingly important in our society as social media has really become a primary venue for advocacy efforts, and we can sort of debate some of the pros and cons of that as well. So your required readings for this week include a couple of articles. Oops, sorry about that. There's one of them. A couple of articles on collective efficacy. So you're going to read the Ansari article, Social Capital and Collective Efficacy, Resources and Operating Tools of Community Social Control. And then you will read the Beck, Omer, and Warner article, Strategies for Preventing Neighborhood Violence toward Bringing Collective Efficacy into Social Work Practice. So that's your first set of readings. The second set are from the University of Kansas Toolbox and involve articles on community advocacy, including principles of advocacy, getting issues on the public agenda, writing, and this is from NASW actually, not University of Kansas, an NASW piece on writing a letter to your member of Congress, and finally an article on creating news stories that the media wants. So how to get your story or whatever the issue is that you're advocating for, how to get that into the media and attract the media's interest. And then finally, there are a set of readings on using social media for advocacy. So you'll read a piece on engaging social media for advocacy, media tips for activist groups, and finally, social marketing of successful components of the initiative. So those are your readings for the week. A little bit lighter this week, I think, than some past weeks. And your assignments for the week, I'll go over the discussion post and then assignment 3. So your discussion post this week involves social media and advocacy, and as I've talked about, and as I'm sure everybody's aware, that social media is increasingly a critical tool for advocacy work. So after you've done the readings for this week, and especially the readings on using social media for advocacy, you are going to make a post that addresses each of these 3 components. So first, you want to describe an advocacy or community or social problem or situation that you've been a part of that involved social media. Or if you haven't personally been involved with one that you've heard about or read about. And in terms of being personally involved with it or being involved with it, it could be that you were involved with it professionally as one of the people organizing the advocacy effort, or it could be perhaps something that you signed on to, right? Maybe somebody sent you a link or you responded to a post on social media and became involved in the advocacy effort that way. That's fine. So first, describe an advocacy or community social problem situation that you've been a part of that involves social media. And again, you could have been a part of that professionally or personally. And if you haven't been directly involved with one, select one that you've heard about or read about. Secondly, you're going to describe the strengths of using social media in this example or to address the problem that was involved. And third, conversely, could social media have been used more effectively and how so? And I will a little bit later in the week post an example of a community problem / situation that I recently was involved with regarding social media, just to give you an example of how you could approach this. So you'll post that on Thursday, and then by Sunday you will respond to 2 classmates. And in your responses, you want to discuss the similarities and differences that you see between your experience and those of your classmates. You'll want to talk about how social media was maybe used differently, or how it could have been used more effectively in the example your classmate provided. So again, initial post due Thursday, follow-up post due by Sunday. Make sure you're adhering to the word requirements, and make sure you use citations for any information that you're using from the course materials or other outside references. All right, if anyone has any questions about that, please feel free to email me or post in the Ask the Instructor forum. So that is the only discussion post for this week. The other big assignment due this week is assignment 3, which is the next phase of your dyad or triad project. And this is the space where one person from your group will upload your assignment, and that is due on Sunday at 11:59. So you'll upload that here. I did last week post an overview, a more in-depth overview of that assignment and the guidelines and rubric for that. So please refer back to that. That was in week 5 that I posted that, so that you would have it well ahead of time. But if anyone has any questions about that, please feel free to email me or post in the Ask the Instructor forum. I really enjoyed reading everybody's assignment 2. You all did a really excellent job in your initial part of that assignment, in your community needs analysis. So I really do look forward to seeing where everybody goes in this next phase, when you're actually developing a needs and services plan and coming up with some strategies to provide an intervention to the problems that you all discussed. It was also interesting to read. Some of you are looking at very similar community problems. For example, a number of groups are looking at the issue of homelessness. So it's interesting to see people approach similar issues in different ways or within the context of a different geographic community. So I found that really to be interesting as far as reading your assignments as well. So again, I really look forward to everyone completing assignment 3. Again, please reach out if you have any questions about that. And finally, the other thing I want to point out is that we are nearing the end of the semester. We will have 1 week left after this. I want to point this out now. You don't need to do it yet necessarily, but there is a course evaluation survey that I would ask that you please do by the end of the semester. That data is confidential. I don't know who says what. It's not shared with me or with administrators until after final grades are posted. But that feedback is really important because it gives me some feedback on things I can be doing better. It also gives the administrators at Widener who develop the courses some perspectives on what students feel like is and isn't working as well. I know I asked everybody to complete the mid-semester evaluation, which a number of you did, and I appreciated the feedback I got there. And while in terms of that feedback, there were some things I can tweak a little bit. Often when I get that mid-semester feedback, I get suggestions such as, a number of people would prefer that the dyad project be an individual project, and I think that's great feedback to have. And that's the kind of feedback that the administrators at Widener who actually design the course need to hear, because that's something that I don't have the flexibility to change. So in any event, these course evaluations are important. I certainly take them seriously. I know the administrators do as well. And I look forward to reading them because they help me improve what I'm doing as well. So again, if you could do that by the end of the semester, that would be great. As always, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out, and I will check back in later this week and talk to everybody soon. Thanks.